Alright, once we have our material rendered, if you are rendering it at a window and you want to save your file, what I recommend is once you get to the window, there's a option here, tab, file, you go save or save a copy. You save, it's still loading so I can't do it, you gotta wait for that to finish. You go file, save, and you save it as a JPEG or a BIP or PNG. It's up to you. They all should work, and every program, every computer usually can handle those types. I don't know about TIFF. TIFF is plotting. PCX, I'm not sure about PCX or TGA. And you'd save it somewhere where you know you have all your material. So like desktop, but at school you might not want to save it on desktop. All right, so I exit that. What I want to do next is I want to do a countertop or some surface that the object is on, and then we're going to actually add a light to it, a spotlight. So to add a base to it, what we can do is, right now my UCX, which is the X, Y, and Z coordinates, are facing front, what does it say, or bottom. So if I drew a box, it will be on the side of my wine glass. What I want to do is make it on the bottom, so I have to change this, or I can later on rotate it using a 3D rotate. But instead of that, I'm going to change it over here. I want to go to home, and where it says world here, I'm going to change it to top. Nope. Sometimes you have to just guess front. And you can see that my X and Y coordinates are different. Now they're actually facing this way, so whenever I draw, it draws on the X and Y. If you don't have this toolbar and you want to get to this, what you want to do is right click here on any of your tools, and your command that you're looking for is UCS2. Oops, that's my material. UCS2 is the exact same thing. You can see that both of them are front. So if I change this one should change also. I'm in the front view. I'm going to draw a box or a rectangle or whatever you want to call it, like so. I'm not going to extrude it, but I'm going to extrude it very little because I don't need to make it a super thickness. That should be enough. And now what I need to do is I have to make sure that I'm not hiding my wine at all. I'm going to move it up first. And I'm going to actually draw a line across this box. The problem with realistic is that anything you create becomes black, so that's why I like using conceptual, because it's gray and you can actually see lines on it and so forth. So I'm going to draw a line from midpoint to midpoint to get the center of my square or rectangle. And I'm going to move my wine by selecting it, going M for move, space or enter. And I'm going to rotate around to make sure I get from the bottom. I get to the center of the bottom, rotate back and select the midpoint of my line. And I'm going to delete that construction line I drew up. By selecting it, you can delete, or you can do erase. I have my object on it, on my little platform, which is great, but the platform of course needs a material. Go back to my material list, and let's see what I'm going to add. I'm going to pick something interesting. I'm going to pick a metal because I know it's reflective, because we're going to add a light to it. It's going to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to pick oh, it's painted. Steel machine. Yeah, that should be fine. So I added a new material to my object. If I want to view it, I can always go to render, or I can type it in, render. This is the only downfall. It does take a little bit while because I have it still set up as presentation, so it does a lot of detailing. and you can see actual reflection of it inside from the actual block of steel I placed underneath. You guys can't see it on this screen, but on my screen the block's still there. So I'm gonna still keep it there, but I'm gonna add a light to it. So I would pay attention to this because we're gonna go through lights. To do lights is the same rendering tool. It's your third key right here, light. If you want, you can also go to, where is it, render, and you have your options here. Same exact thing, except it doesn't look, the icon changed. And here are your options. Actually, that's a web. That's actual new light for 2011. 2010 did not have this. I'll have to freshen up on that. I'll teach you guys that too. But right now we're just going to use we're going to be using a spotlight. But before we actually select this and use it, what I need to do is set up where I want a spotlight to start from, where I want it to be positioned. To do this, I will have to draw a line, probably on the outside of my material, to reflect in. So I'm going to change my UCX first. I'm going to change it to so I can draw a line going up, like so. I'm using ortho, so I make sure it's going up. And this is just a construction line. It's not supposed to be, shown later. I can just delete it. It's just going to help me position my flashlight. So if I was holding a flashlight, I'll be holding it from here because that's my arm. That's what the idea is. Where are you holding your flashlight, and then where are you pointing that flashlight to? That is how our spotlight works. It even shows you a flashlight. You click on that. It's going to prompt you to the sunlight and light from point lights spot blah 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 is turned off. What do you want to do? So when you draw any object in the beginning, there's always a light. Otherwise, you won't be able to see your object. This will prompt you to. It's going to turn off all the lights except whatever you have created, which is right now we're using only a spotlight. So it will only have that spotlight. There will be no other lights around. You're in a dark room and you only have that flashlight. So we're going to turn off the default light, which was recommended too. And we're going to select it from here. It even shows you a flashlight. So that's where I'm holding it, and I want it to face this way. You can name this flashlight because it's going to give you, you're going to keep on adding lights, so you might want to name it. But if not, it's just going to go to a default name. I think it's light 1 or something. And there's other options: intensity factor, status, photometry, hotspot, fall off, shadow. I don't know how to say that word. Filter color. So there's a lot of options that you have to play around with. If you're, if you become expert and you know exactly how light you want. There's actual light technicians working on this. So, but this is just a brief explanation of it. I don't want to go into these things because I can't even explain them. You just have to, if you change one, you would see what happens. I can't explain what the light actually does because I am not a light expert. So what we're going to just do is click enter, and it's going to set that up. So you have that light. You can click on it, and you will see the area of intensity. The first area is intense light. The second area is less intense. And it also tells you the depth. So you can see that my light ends up to here, which is not good because this area here will not have any light. So what I have to make sure is I select, there's a center arrow, it should be over here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Where you can stretch it out down. Oh, that's the outsides. Oops. Rotate correctly. So you can expand the outside layer and reduce it if you want. So it depends on how strong your light is. Or what kind of, so you can make it huge like that. or you can make a special spot light that you really want. But the one I'm trying to figure out right now is the option to extend it. Oh, there it is. Make sure your ortho might be a factor, so keep that in mind. It stretches the whole thing. So you can play around with those blue points. The one I'm still looking for, here we are. You can move it back, but I'm going to just move it forward because I still got that. Remember, ortho at this point may cause a lot of issues and be annoying to you, like it is to me. And I'm just going to move it over. The key thing that I do a lot, and you may find helpful, is if something's in the way, either move it over at a specified distance, but make sure you have ortho on, and you can always move it back. So if I'm moving this, I'm moving it, say 100. 100, and I can play around with my lights. There's that arrow I'm looking for. Right. Oh, I know why. I figured it out. My UCX. You gotta watch out with the UCX, because if that's screwed up, it's gonna screw up where your pointing is of the blue points. It's gonna snap to areas. So it's one of those difficult things that you have to play around with, and hopefully you get it corrected. There we go. See, I changed the UCX, and now I don't have an issue. And I extended the light, so the light actually reaches farther away. And I can move this back using ortho at 100. So it's exactly in the same exact position that it started off with, except I fixed the light already, so it's actually showing everything now. Now all I have to do is delete that construction line I used, and I can go to my rendering, where the fun stuff begins. You can see I'm using a laptop. So, of course, I didn't zoom in close enough so you guys can't see it that well. So again, I will zoom close and render it. Oh my. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video because this is taking forever.